Ladies and gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, no, you're not listening to the wrong show. This is the Sandton Times Hour, but this week with a very special look at weddings. So welcome to the special edition, also available on all leading digital audio channels. And if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so by sending through your questions, your comments, and your feedback to editor@sandtontimes.co.za, or connect on social media @Sandton Times, or visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And a very special welcome to everyone listening for the very first time, as well as our Sandton Times Hour community in Johannesburg and Pretoria, across South Africa, and everywhere else in the world. If you're listening online or on air, married, unmarried, engaged, dating, or wherever you're at, I'm happy to report that all is well in Sandtonland. And Vincenzo is behind the mixing desk again, I think doubling up as the wedding reception DJ this hour. And as South Africa watches the wedding season unfolding, why not assemble some of the world's leading wedding minds to help you, or someone you might know, plan their wedding? And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next hour in this very special edition. I've had the pleasure of emceeing over a dozen weddings and continue to be invited to do so. So if you're getting married, drop me a line. Maybe I'll give it some thought and I'll come along. But moreover, I've had the chance to MC the 13th edition of the Exotic Wedding Planning Conference in Bodrum, Turkey this year in April 2024, and met an incredible group of international exotic wedding planners. And I thought, why not bring some of these newfound contacts back to the show and share some of their knowledge with you, or with somebody you might know who might be getting married. So here we are. Coming up in the next hour, in a bit, I'll be catching up with an author, interior designer, and event planner to the stars who is making waves across the world, organizing multi-million-dollar parties, and he'll be sharing some of his insights with us, also some insight into his career, and I can't wait to catch up with him again. Then I'll be chatting to two incredibly talented photographers in South Africa about the importance of capturing your special day and what you need to bear in mind when booking a photographer for your wedding. So stay listening for that. And finally, we head over to the Middle East, where I chat to a wedding planner extraordinaire who is part of a couple who makes sure other couples' special day hits the mark. All this and more in the next hour.
The best of Sandton and beyond.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
As mentioned in my introduction, I had the pleasure of emceeing the Exotic Wedding Planning Conference this last April in Bodrum, Turkey, where I met an array of industry leaders, wedding planners, and designers from around the globe. And one man stood out for his incredible repertoire, but also his very familiar accent. His name's Colin Cowie, and he is one of the most celebrated event designers and producers in the world. He's orchestrated some of the world's most talked about parties and events. You might recognize some of his clients, Oprah Winfrey, Jerry Seinfeld, Ryan Seacrest, Jennifer Lopez, Ben Affleck, Kim Kardashian, and the list goes on. He's had heads of states, he's had foreign dignitaries and royalty that he's looked after, and he's masterminded a wide array of celebrations, including weddings. And that's what we're talking about. Colin has also authored 11 books on lifestyle and entertainment, and one of his books that you might know very well is The Gold Standard, Giving Your Customers What They Didn't Know They Wanted. And he joins me on the line right now from Miami. Colin, it's good to chat to you again.
Nice to chat with you, and looking forward to our time together.
Well, Colin, tell us a little bit more about your background. How did you get into event planning, particularly focusing on high-end luxury?
Well, it's very interesting because in South Africa, we do a couple of things really well. We know how to make people feel welcome, and we know how to make people feel very comfortable. And at the height of apartheid in the 80s, I didn't feel that there was a big future for myself in South Africa. I didn't believe in the system. I didn't want to invest my hardest working years in not knowing what the future would be. And of course, we couldn't take much currency out of the country. So armed with $400, one well-cut suit, an omnipresent suntan, and big dreams, I headed to Los Angeles. Literally, within a very short period of time, I had to figure out how to make an income. And I was teaching cooking lessons at the Beverly Hills High School Adult Program and assisting and working with a friend of mine. And then I was asked if I would be a food consultant for Hugh Hefner's wedding. And I went to see what they were doing at the Playboy Mansion, and I really didn't like anything. It was like a terrible idea what they had. So I started telling them what I would do. And then 15 minutes later, someone more important walked into the room and I told them the story, and the story got bigger and better and more glamorous. And a half an hour later, someone else came in to listen, and each time it was a more important person. And 2 hours later, I was sitting in front of Hugh Hefner in his pajamas, and I painted the most spectacular wedding for him. And he said to me, "Can you do this?" And I had 12 weeks to do it in.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, I turned it around like there was no tomorrow. I had no idea how famous the world's most famous bachelor was. And it turned out to be this most extraordinary event that kind of got me labeled as Mr. Wedding. And from that point onwards, I was kind of known as Mr. Wedding, and it was unbelievable because it really set the path for what I was going to do. And then my sister said to me, "But we do the same thing at home. The only difference is that you do it for rich people and you get to charge a whole lot more."
And so true it is. And I mean, that must be one of those weddings that you'll never forget because it did sort of set the scene for what was to come. And you've done so many more after that. But is there any other one that's really stood out? Any other exotic wedding that you've planned that is just unique and memorable?
Many of them. But I have to say, probably, if I may speak a little selfishly, was my own wedding, which I hosted in South Africa on 02/2220, which was just 2022 in February, just before the pandemic started. I figured, what would be the best place to bring my guests to? And we brought 176 people to South Africa for 10 days. So we took everybody on safari for 3 days. On the second day, we threw glamourflage, which was come dressed as your most favorite exotic animal. It was the most incredible party in the middle of safari. Then we flew everyone to Cape Town, and we did 2 fabulous days in Cape Town, the wonderful big day raver at the Grand. And then we moved everyone to the vineyards, and at Boshandal we threw this extraordinary wedding that started at 6 p.m. and ended at 6 a.m. It was unbelievable. We all then went back home, and the world went into shutdown because of the pandemic for the next 2 years. But I must say it was so incredible for me because I've collected the most extraordinary group of friends in my lifetime. It was incredible to bring them back. Many of them had never been to South Africa before, and to share South Africa through my eyes. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Another one that was incredible was, a year ago, we did a wedding in Lake Wanaka in New Zealand. And I said to the bride, "Why did you pick New Zealand, Lake Wanaka?" She said, "I wanted a place very far away that someone would never go back to. I wanted a place where no one's ever gone before, and I wanted a place that was very exotic." So we set our eyes on this incredible lake wedding in Wanaka in New Zealand, which was just beyond. But it's all about the location. We've worked on private islands in the Caribbean, in Bali and in Fiji, and literally all over the world. I mean, this business has gotten me to travel I've traveled in excess of 16.5 million miles and almost 100 countries in search of the best and the finest for my clients.
Well, Colin, it's truly remarkable. And I mean, we probably don't even have enough time to chat about all of these destinations and all the things you have worked on. But what becomes quite evident at this point is that when you do these events in these really exotic places, there must be some pretty big challenges in planning a wedding in a remote or very inaccessible destination.
Very, very good question. Because when you think about it, when you're walking into, the average hotel and restaurant, they practice for 3 or 4 months before they open the doors to their paying customers. If you think about us, sometimes we land up in a field, in a foreign country, 15 minutes away from the closest city, and we have to build from the ground up. So you're literally in the field. The tents go up, the kitchen tents go up, the bathroom tents go up. Everything gets built from scratch. And so we don't have the opportunity of practicing for 3 or 4 months in advance. So we have incredible amounts of pre-production. One of the things that we always do is we always hire as many local companies as possible, because should something go wrong, the local people know exactly where to dig you out of any problem. They have all the resources at their fingertips, and it's also very good and healthy for us to go in and to support a local climate and a local economy. And I think that way it sets us up for success and it sets them up for success. And then, of course, there's the guest management point of view. Think about every guest has to travel sometimes to 2 or 3 airports and an hour on the road before they get to an exotic destination. most of them don't arrive in the happiest moods. So we have to think about all those things in advance. And that's why we have what we call our guest list concierge, who literally have an Excel sheet with 18 different columns. So we've got every piece of information on every guest so we can ensure that they have the best guest experience possible. But, it's interesting because the amount of pre-production that you have to put into something like this, you have to think through every what if, what if rain, what if power outage, what if change in weather, whatever might happen. It's a big challenge. So you support yourself with a really good team of people. And, I've never come across a place that we weren't able to work in, but literally I've worked across all 5 continents.
Well, I'm chatting to event extraordinaire producer Colin Cowie. We're going to top up your bubbly, and we'll be right back after this.
From Greater Sandton to the rest of the world, this is the Sandton Times Hour.
I'm picking up on my chat with one of the world's most celebrated event designers and producers, Colin Cowie. And before the break, we were chatting a little bit about his career, how he got to where he is right now, and just some of the things that go into producing some of these extraordinary destination weddings and events. Colin, how do you handle some of those unexpected issues that arise when you start planning a wedding? Because, if you've got people, hundreds of them, moving into some of these unknown places, there's bound to be trouble.
Well, you always expect the worst and pray for the best, right? And it comes from building a good team of people. So every single person knows exactly what they're doing. We create these production books that are an inch thick, right? That literally go from the week before the first guest arrives till 3 days after the last guest departs. And we run minute by minute. And for every single point of discussion we've had with the client in the last 9 months, there's an action plan. When it happens, what it is, and who's responsible to make it happen. So literally on a project, you could have to maybe 400 or 500 people working on a project. This way I can ensure that all of us come together for the first time on this particular occasion to work together. We're working towards the same goal with the same plan and the same expectation for all of us. And, this is how we kind of pull it all together. And each person and each division is completely specialized. So, we have a head of food and beverage. We have a head of service. We have a head of floral and decor. There's the executive producer. There's 2 or 3 associate producers. So it's really about having extraordinary management. And I have to tell you, it's all about the talent. Right? I am very fortunate to surround myself with extraordinary people, because without my team, I'm just a really good idea. And I've worked very hard to have amazing culture in my company. And in able to do this, it's allowed me to have no revolving door. None of my team ever want to leave. My senior producer, Lane, has been with me for 26 years. My accountant has been with me for 19 years. My head of IT has been with me for 17 years. Other producers, 12 years, 11 years, 8 years. And I really look after the people because they are the best of the best in the business. Having a strong corporate culture is kind of the fuel in the gas tank to get people to do what you want to do. So what are some of the things that I do for this team? Because majority of my team are female, and I believe that they are the best producers. They have an ability to multitask probably better than anyone else that I know. We provide a manicure and a pedicure for each team member before they arrive on the job site. I arrange to have a glam squad come and provide hair and makeup. So when my team walk out on the floor, they represent me with confidence and style. Every 3 months, we pass the baton and we recognize the talents of someone great in the organization. They get an extra 2 days off on a weekend. I take a percentage of my quarterly net profit, which is shared as in addition to a bonus structure. It's a profit sharing. So the better we do, the better they do. And as a result, I've been able to keep this core team of people together that are able to represent me and set me up for success every single time. So it really is all about the people that you surround yourself with in order to make sure that we can pull off these flawless events. Because you never want to walk into a space and start the conversation with, I'm sorry. Right? It means that you screwed up somewhere and you didn't get something done.
Yeah.
And, there's no safety nets anywhere other than the safety nets that you build for yourself.
Absolutely. No, for sure. Colin, with all this experience and advice that you have, what advice would you give to couples that are considering a destination wedding or an exotic wedding, but they're unsure about what they're signing up for?
I like the idea of destination weddings, and destination weddings today still happen to be the biggest trend that we're seeing, because a lot of people, rather than having 350 people in their hometown where they're inviting everyone down to the third grade teacher, they would rather go to an exotic destination, or it doesn't have to be exotic, a destination. It could be a bed and breakfast, or a big Airbnb somewhere where everybody gets together. But the idea of taking a smaller group of people away for an extended period of time is a great trend today. And I think everybody loves this, but you need to ask yourself, first of all, make sure that, this is what I suggest, that you don't have more than one flight to get there. Mm-hmm. Make it easy for your guests to get there. If you're going to pick a particular venue that's expensive, make sure that you've got one or two hotels that are less expensive for those guests who don't have those means. You're also going to have to make sure that you can find accommodation for the team and the staff. A lot of people say, I found this private island for 110 guests and we have 110 people come. I said, that's great. How are we going to make this happen without any staff? Right? I think then the next thing to do is they give them more than enough time in advance, and a well-informed guest is a happy guest. So what we usually do is we set up a password-protected website so that they can find out every bit of information, how to get there, when to be there by, what's expected of them, what to wear, what type of transportation will be there for them. And that way your guests arrive presenting the best version of themselves. But a lot to take into consideration before you throw that out, because I've seen, as I mentioned earlier on, a wedding that we did in New Zealand, I thought was very tough on the guests, because we worked out every guest who went to that wedding spent about $30,000 to $40,000 to get there, to get back. By the time you bought 2 or 3 new dresses and bought the gift, it becomes a very, very expensive idea. So take into account how much you're going to expense you're going to end up putting on your guests, and is it something that they have the appetite for?
Mm-hmm. I mean, with some of these mega weddings that we've seen, I mean, especially this year, it's been just littered with them. How easy or how difficult is it to get a couple to have a truly special and authentic experience and sort of put their own signature on their wedding and sort of still try and keep it personal without it, getting lost in all the fanfare?
Very good. It's a very good question. And if you have a look on my website and any of my work, no two projects ever look the same. Mm. I don't have a signature look. We show incredible, I think, style, elegance, attention to detail. But my inspiration comes from the client, right? The bride and the groom, I use their DNA to guide me. So their wedding is not just another big flashy event, but it's an opportunity for them to make a joint statement of style. Who was the bride before? Who was the groom before? Who are they together as a couple? And how they treat their guests. I think that's what's most important. So it's a question of, positioning people the right way and making sure that we pick all the right decisions to ensure great experience.
Well, there you have it, the one and only Colin Cowie. Thank you for making the time to connect again, and it's been a pleasure having you on the Sandton Times Hour.
I had a great time with you, and thank you so much, and I'm sure our paths will cross again soon.
You're listening to the Sandton Times Hour.
And as we get into the second half of the Sandton Times Hour this week, don't forget that if you caught something intriguing during the show, but you didn't get a chance to get all the details, you can't remember who we spoke to, or you need some more information and some more links, don't worry, we'll put it up on the website, sandtontimes.co.za, and there's some comprehensive show notes there with a breakdown and all those good things. And also don't forget to also visit the social media accounts at Sandton Times on your favorite platform. And also let me encourage you, if you know anybody who's getting married, busy planning a wedding, feel free to share this episode with them on all good digital audio platforms in their own time online. And I think it'll be a huge help as we speak to some really interesting guests and get some really great information. So one of those things that, I don't know, some people are really good with and some people struggle to kind of understand why or how they should do it is weddings and wedding photography specifically. So now you've got this fantastic day. You've got this incredible dress if you're a bride or a groom. You've got a fantastic suit and you've done all the amazing stuff with the decor. And next thing you know, you've either gotten a really horrible photographer or you've totally forgotten about the photographer. You're saying, we don't need the photographer. We'll take some pictures with our phone or we'll, record it on something or other. And then you think, well, who's ever going to see this again? Like, if it's not for the guests who are there, no one's ever going to see it. So the wedding photography part is such a critical element of this entire exercise. Otherwise, what are you actually going to look at in years to come if you had this wedding and nobody has seen it or nobody remembers it? So I thought, well, let me get two ladies on the line who really understand this profession exceptionally well. And I'm thrilled to be joined by Gosia Dulz and Amanda Wiggill. ESTILO Wedding Photography, that's what they do. And they've been shooting weddings in South Africa and across the world since 2014. And they've got an incredible team. And they've traveled to some incredible destinations such as Italy, Bali, Mexico, Greece, and so many more. And they've had some incredible memories that they've shared and also some wonderful I-dos. So that being said, Gosia, Amanda, great to have you on the Sandton Times Hour.
Hey, Alex.
Hello.
Good to be here.
Yes, thank you for having us. Thank you for the amazing introduction.
Well, I mean, I think you deserve it. You do some really fabulous work. But before we get into your work and kind of what people need to remember when they think of photographers and weddings, what inspired you to specialize in weddings and photographing weddings? I mean, how did this all get going?
Alex, I think, we also got married. We were also in the position of being brides and, we've gone through the entire experience. But I think Gosia and I both love art. We've got quite an artistic flair and we love telling people stories. That is so important for us. That idea of, these pictures being in someone's family and, forming parts of their heritage, basically. That is what really, gets us up and going to every single job, every Saturday. That's what we love about it.
Fantastic.
For me personally, I think what inspired me to still continue with wedding photography are the people that we work with. And just the honor of being invited to this most amazing special day of their lives when witnessing two people committing to a lifetime together. There's nothing short of magical here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's absolutely magical. Wedding day, I mean, all the emotions that go along with a wedding day. It is just really, it's a privilege to be part of that day. Privilege and an honor.
Well, let's get into this planning of getting a photographer on board. I mean, what kind of planning generally goes into putting a wedding shoot together? And where do you find most couples go wrong when selecting a photographer and then deciding on how this is all going to work on the day?
Well, I think most of our couples, how people go about booking is very personal. It's for everyone, it's a very personal journey. And I think at the end of the day, obviously, your photographer, the pictures that photographer takes, their style and their approach has to resonate with your own. But it's a very personal thing. I think the most important thing that we find our clients, how they decide on booking a wedding photographer is about who we are as people. They book us. They book us as photographers, as an eye to kind of translate what happens on the day.
So like Amanda said, it's very important to find a photographer that can deliver the style of photography that you're looking for. But obviously, it's very important to like your wedding photographer. This person will spend most of the wedding day with you. I always feel so privileged. Actually, I was a guest many times at the wedding, and I didn't experience the wedding the same way as a wedding photographer. It's actually sometimes I prefer to be a wedding photographer because we see everything, all the behind the scene. We spend the most time with the couple.
Bride. True.
Not even parents spend as much time as we do on the wedding day.
True. We see everything. I mean, from before the bride gets ready to like right at the end where they leave the wedding. We are literally in their faces the whole entire day.
Yeah.
So it's an important choice to really click with a person. Who's going to be spending that amount of time with you on your day.
Well, if I understand you correctly, there's a level of chemistry that needs to be there. Otherwise, the bride doesn't feel comfortable, the groom doesn't feel comfortable, the couple doesn't feel comfortable, and you don't get the best results in terms of how it translates on those pictures.
Absolutely. No, and Alex, to be honest, we've also had instances where we decide to, from our side, let the client go. Basically, just because we feel we don't, things don't resonate, we don't click with this couple, we're not going to be delivering the best job, what they looking for is maybe something completely different. So then we just decide, to end our client's client photography relationship.
Needs to be mutual.
Definitely.
Much like you plan a relationship to either go to a wedding or you don't, that relationship with the photographer is equally as important. You need to decide when it's good to carry on and when it's time to break up. Tell me a little bit more about some of the most memorable weddings that you've shot. Like, what's sort of one or two that stand out where you think, wow, that was just really incredible?
I think I have two on my list that were really special. I love traveling, and sometimes we get lucky to travel because of our work. So first one is Bali. I never was planning even to go to Bali. So when this wedding came out, I was like, do I really want to go? Oh, why? And Amanda, you will see, it will be amazing. And it was just magical. The wedding was in Ubud, in the middle of the jungle. The reception was just under the sky. It was an outdoor wedding with traditional paya dances as entertaining. It was just magical. We were exposed to completely different culture, different surroundings. It was beautiful.
Beautiful. Yes. Travel is great. But I think for me, if I have to kind of single out different weddings, Alex, I would say for me, it's more about the people. Someone who becomes your friend, basically, after the wedding, brides, clients, they invite you in, you become like their family. I think those weddings would probably be my most memorable weddings. Two or three of our clients have really become close friends, and that is what is so special and incredible, meeting these people and going to these incredible places. It's all perks of the profession.
Tell me, what kind of trends are you seeing as we get into sort of another wedding season in South Africa in terms of wedding photography? Is there much that's changed, or is it very much sort of the classics that still remain evergreen?
Yeah, I feel it's changing, and especially social media. Instagram is pushing different trends every year.
Pinterest.
Yes. And people, as you know, they sit on their phones and just scroll the pictures. So they are influenced by social media a lot.
And celebrity weddings, kind of that influence. Yes, we've seen a lot of that. People tend to kind of see a new trend, blurry images, grainy images, very dark.
Film aesthetics, direct flash photography. I think that's the main trends that are shaping wedding photography in 2024.
We pride ourselves in being classic style wedding photographers, leaning a bit towards fashion photography, but we still believe, that, you should look at your images in 20 years' time and still feel that these images are still beautiful. They are still current. Look at a beautiful black and white image. It will always stay classic and aesthetically pleasing. Whereas maybe, one of these trendy, gimmicky images will not look that great. Same with the hairstyles of the 80s and the style, the styles that were in fashion then. When you look at it now, or maybe it's now trendy again. But if you looked at it like 10 years ago, you'd cringe and be like, oh my word, what was I thinking? So we still believe, there are trends that you should look at and kind of incorporate perhaps, but the classic style still is the best way to go, we feel, when choosing a wedding photographer or wedding dress for that matter, or a hairstyle.
Well, look, I think it's some great advice, and if this is something that's resonated with you and you're listening, well, go check them out. ESTILO Wedding Photography. They're online. We're also going to put their link up on the Sandton Times website. You can have a look there if you can't remember all of that. Gosia, Dulz, and Amanda Wiggill, thank you so much for joining me on the Sandton Times Hour, and I wish you many more happy memories as you go out and shoot some of these fabulous weddings.
Thank you so much, Alex. We love listening to your show. Thanks for having us.
Follow the Sandton Times on social media.
Sandton Times.
Well, it's been an hour chatting about all things weddings as South Africa hits its peak wedding season, and I'm thrilled to be joined by another wonderful lady I had the chance to interview during my time at the Exotic Wedding Planning Conference in April this year in Bodrum, Turkey. Joining me all the way from Lebanon is Pamela Mansour. She's the managing partner at Mine Weddings and Events. And Pamela, it's so great to be chatting to you again.
Thank you very much for having me, and I'm so glad to get to see you again.
Well, Pamela, it's good to see you again too, and we had a fantastic time in Bodrum, of course, chatting and also connecting with so many other people in the space. Maybe to kick things off, how have things been going this year in terms of the wedding space? Have you been busy? What kind of things have you been involved with?
Yes, actually, we've been very, very busy. I don't know what happened this season. I believe that people got the chance after Corona, like 1 or 2 years, to get the chance to start again partying, having, celebrating, having and organizing big parties, big weddings, big events as well. We've been flying all over the world and having events everywhere, actually.
What drove you to get into this particular space? I mean, high-end luxury events, weddings in the Middle East.
Actually, I've always loved luxurious things. I've always loved looking at big parties, nice decor since I was young. I don't know if I already told you, but I have a scientific background. I did biology I have a BS in biology, so nothing to have with what I'm doing now. But I met my partner and he asked me to help him design some events. And since I had a very good taste, and this is how I started. And it took us like one big event, one big wedding to get to be known like luxurious wedding planners and big events designers.
Amazing. I mean, it's amazing how life sometimes serves you something and you just take it and go with it. So you must have had quite a few unique and memorable weddings that you've planned in quite a few exotic locations. Maybe you can just share one or two of those examples.
Yes, I really like the Bosphorus side of Turkey. And I love the places, if you know, the Kempinski, the Chiran, the Four Seasons, directly on the Bosphorus. I really like organizing events there. It has an amazing view. It has this cachet of old Ottoman palaces it does go with what we do, actually. And also, I've been to Europe. I've been to south of France that I love also. And to Marbella. I've been to Marbella. I did many events in Marbella. There is like one very nice golf court where I did an amazing weddings there. So these are like some of the few places that I really love, and I really would like to go again and again to organize weddings there.
Well, listen, you're certainly the right person to speak to when it comes to organizing, these kind of events, especially with the footprint that you've also got, sort of, as say, Middle East and surroundings. What kind of advice do you give couples when they sit down with you and they say, look, we want to plan this wedding. It's going to be somewhere else. It's not going to be where we are. Where do you even start to put this together?
First of all, I need to chat. I need to sit with the bride and groom, go out with them, have coffee with them, talk about everything except the wedding. This is the first step that I normally do, because I need to get to know them closely. So I know them, I know their personality, I get to know them closely to know what they like, what they dislike. And after that, when I believe that I know them very well, I start designing the event, the wedding for them, without even asking them what they like. So I believe that this is one of my atu, is to get to know what exactly each bride would like to see and what are their dreams for their wedding. And it never happened that I misdesigned a wedding. I always know exactly what they want. And I also tell them that the wedding day is not a play, is not something that you need to be like, just be spontaneous, be yourself. Don't do it as it is like a scenario that you have to follow. This is always my advice to the bride and groom.
So always let it play out the way it needs to play out. Things might not happen at the time you need it to happen. That's just part of the deal.
Exactly. And I always tell them, even if their train or their dress got stuck somewhere, it's fine, it's okay. There is not like a grade that we need to put for the bride at the end of the wedding. Be spontaneous. People like spontaneous bride, likes authentic bride. They don't like someone who's like doing a play or acting or not being following like a bridal 101 course. No. The people like spontaneous. I like the bride and groom to be at ease, to be relaxed, and to act spontaneously.
Tell me, if you had to give a couple some advice that's planning to get married, what would that be?
It's not about the wedding day. It's about the marriage. This is first. This is the most important advice that I can give, because the second day they will wake up and it's their life. It's the daily life that they're going to encounter. Because everybody, all the couples, I've been talking now to a bride before I talked to you. I was telling her, she's telling me that she's stressed and she's afraid. I was telling her, this stress will disappear the second day of the wedding. You won't feel anything. So just relax, try to enjoy the process of the preparations, and put in your mind that this stress and what you are feeling now will disappear the second day. So I just tell them, try to relax, try to enjoy the wedding process, the preparations process, and forget about anything. Because, the seating, for example, the seating plan, this will make the bride and groom stress a lot, because, they need to put their families in the VIP section. They need to cater all their friends. They don't want anybody to be upset. So the seating plans, is difficult. How to get two families that they might be very different together on the wedding day and during this preparation process. So all these influence the bride and groom and makes them feel like stressful, and sometimes make them question their relationship, which is not true, because the wedding process, the preparation process, raise the level of stress. But this doesn't mean that they did not choose the right person. This doesn't mean that they will not feel maybe in love again after this wedding day. So this is my advice always advise the bride and groom. This is not the relationship that you are living. The relationship that you are living is the second day. This is not the stress that you will live during the wedding process. And this is actually my job. My job is to remove the stress, is to try to relax the bride and groom as much as I can. So the stress, I will get to be stressful, I will get to be anxious, but not the bride and groom.
And it's quite interesting because you run this events business with your husband. So you yourself are married. You know what the process has been like. And do you find that that's an advantage when you sit down with couples, that you are also a couple yourselves?
Yes. And this is like very intriguing to the bride and groom. They have an example of us. Like we fight a lot. We have different opinions. We have different styles. But at the end of the day, we complement each other, and to get to have the best design, the best decor, the best wedding day for all the bride and groom. And they always look up to us, and they always like to try to put themselves in our shoes. So it's very good. So I get to work with my husband, which has like two different sides of it. But at the end of the day, if I put the balance, it's a great thing, and I'm very blessed to work with him.
Amazing. Well, there you have it. Pamela Mansour, she's the managing partner at Mine Weddings and Events, and they're based in Lebanon. And Pamela, it's been so great to chat to you again, and thanks for joining me on the Sandton Times Hour.
Thank you so much. And it was so lovely seeing you again. I hope I will see you again soon, physically.
Absolutely. We'll make a plan.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And with that, that's all we have time for this week on this very special edition of the Sandton Times Hour. As always, available on all good podcast platforms, including Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Podcast Party, and so many other leading digital audio streaming platforms. If you want to get in touch, you can email editor@sandtontimes.co.za, connect on social media @Sandton Times, and visit the website www.sandtontimes.co.za. And feel free to send through your questions, your comments, your feedback. All of that is welcome. And of course, thank you to my special lineup of guests who've made time to be on the show this week, as well as the team in the background. And don't forget to share this edition with someone you know that's getting married, and it might be of some great help. And seriously, if you're looking for a wedding MC, listen, drop me a line and let's make it happen. It could be fun. Thank you for listening. Let's do it again. Same time, same place next week.